Stories. We all got them.
Grew up in northeastern Ohio, small town, kind of close to a big town, but had a good family. Good parents. They weren't Christian parents, but they were good parents. I am right now the father of one. I got a baby boy that's 16 months old, and my wife is 5 months pregnant with another one on the way. Bumps in the road were really the absence of God. Looking back on it, I never recognized it at the time, but just doing church, once in a while, I never really had like a close group of friends or kids or adults telling me that doing life with God was really the best way to do it. My dad, for as long as I can remember, was the only hero that I really had. He was it. Looked up to him, admired him, loved him, and had a really good relationship with him. I wouldn't really put anger on it. I never really was angry at her. I think the alcoholism just kind of limited our level of closeness. I never really faulted her for it. I did enough counseling, as a kid, that I kind of recognized and learned that alcoholism isn't something that she chose or asked for. So I kind of put the blame beyond her instead of on her. After high school, moved out of the house, kind of did my own thing in college, landed with a group of roommates, 4 guys, and we enjoyed ourselves on a pretty regular basis. The typical college stuff. So doing the college thing, life on my own for the first time, making decisions, and some of them are good, some of them aren't so good, but none of them were terrible. Felt like I was doing everything right most of the time, but there was just something that I can't describe any other way than a gnawing on my heart when I would wake up in the morning on the weekends after maybe I was doing something that I shouldn't really have been doing. Maybe everyone else around me is doing it, and that's how I justified it, but there was something there in my heart that I just didn't feel like what I was doing was right. Question that I was trying to answer for myself of how I wanted to live my life, how I wanted to move forward. I decided that religion may play a role, and so maybe I should start looking around a little bit. So I poked around loosely with different religions, trying to be very rational and thoughtful about it. The typical 18-year-old mentality that I'm invincible, and I carried my dad with me in that line of thought. He was my hero. Nothing's ever going to happen to Dad. And in the midst of this kind of puzzling around about, is there a God out there? Who is this God? What's that all about? I was actually home for a weekend, staying with at my parents' house, and Dad woke up early in the morning on Saturday morning, and he couldn't talk. I kind of heard, I was asleep, and I woke up, and there's just kind of stirring in my parents' bedroom, and my mom's kind of freaking out. And my dad was making really strange noises. He couldn't talk. His brain would not allow him to verbalize the way that he normally does. Dad's never had a medical problem in his life. And all of a sudden, here we are. He can write to us that this is really scary and we need to go to the emergency room, but he can't talk. All he can do is make these weird noises. In the midst of the situation with my dad, I kind of decided to ditch the whole let's make an intelligent decision about what God is out there and just go to church. And my sister, who I had sort of a so-so relationship with all my life, she had plugged into a church, and she had told me that she was a Christian. And at that point in my life, if anything, that had pushed me away from Christianity, just because that was the relationship that I had with my sister was, oh, if she's doing that, I'm not, just for the sake of doing it, not because there was anything behind it. We were up about 100 feet above a lake that was all down out in front of us, and I remember just kind of looking up at the stars and just letting it out before God and just saying, look, I don't know what I'm doing or why I don't quite feel right about some of the choices that I'm making, but God, I want to see what you can do with my life, and I want you to run it. And I have no idea what that looks like, but let's go. You know, sign me up. Let's do that. Friend ended up in the hospital. They said he was paralyzed and never going to walk again, and I had to make sense of that. And to put myself in that situation without having had a relationship with Christ for the previous 3 years, I have no idea how I would come through a tragedy like that. My best friend, he's an athlete. He uses his legs. He needs his legs to do what he loves to do, and he's an amazing person. So why on earth would God allow this type of tragedy to happen? There's no easy answer for it.
That was Dustin.
That was Dustin.